Hello guys, welcome back to Dharma Geosphere. Today I'll be interacting with you on the contribution of some outstanding geographers, particularly Ratzel, Richthofen and Hettner and other German geographers. As you all know, after the death of Humboldt and Ritter, the progress of geography as a separate discipline almost came to a grinding halt. Humboldt and Ritter were at the crossroads of two streams of geography. One, on the one hand, it was the classical geography, and the other was the modern geography. In that sense, they were also the beginning and end of a phase of the geographical evolution, and with them also ended the geography as a subject of being universal science. So that was quite a setback, so much so because there were no takers for geography as a unified science. So it took quite some time before geography could be placed separately as a discipline. Meanwhile, the various scientific advances through the voyages, they came to be pieced together to flag out the overarching theories of biological evolution, in particular the theory of evolution by the Charles Darwin. This led and opened several perspectives on the way the scholars were looking at science. Charles Darwin himself noted that what Lamarck had thought that the giraffe got its long neck because of trying to reach fodder. He showed that it is not because of trying to reach fodder, it is just that some giraffes who were born with long necks survived better in the savanna environment, whereas those with small necks could not survive in their environment. So he said theory of evolution is anything but just a straight line. In fact, it involves more of chance and randomness rather than just being a single line of evolution as hitherto was being thought and perceived and being taught. So this theory of evolution not only brought in different perspectives of the way we look at different sciences, but also geography. For that geography, it was thought that the man and environment relationship, which has been going on for so long, can be better understood in this perspective of theory of evolution, because it is only by understanding this theory of evolution we will be better able to appreciate how man survives the fittest and how he evolves the way he handles and deals the environment in and around him. The theory of evolution also had some kind of bearing on some of the geography theories, particularly the Davis theory of cycle of erosion, which also showed that like how a man evolves from youth, mature and old age. The cycle of erosion, the rivers also move through these evolutionary stages of youth, maturity and old age. Not only just the cycle of erosion, but it was also brought in, opened the eyes of how the matured soils evolved over time, particularly, which is a very slow and a long drawn process of the weathering, erosion and deposition, and finally making the matured soils right from the original parent material it was totally different from what we see in soils. So this is how the theory of evolution brought in a lot of clarity in among various concepts of various sciences, including the geography as a universal science. And this way of looking geography with these concepts also established geography as a science, as a discipline which in its own right being science. However, the physical parts of the Earth's crust being now looked into as different sciences brought a jolt to the way geography should have developed as an independent discipline. So this separation of the physical parts of the Earth's crust did not agree with the earlier proposals of Humboldt and Ritter, who propounded a very unified theory for both the physical and human geography. So that unified theory of geography, combining both physical and the human aspects, now lost its respectability, and also geography as a discipline, as an independent universal science of knowledge, was also being wrought, and it lost its relevance, so much so that the Berlin chair of Karl Ritter was left vacant for a very, very long time. So again, geography has gone back into the crisis of identity, and then particularly so because the way Oscar Peschel and George Gerland argued against this concept of dualism, and though many scholars were trying to bring in these two subjects as part of dualistic scientific approach, it could not happen till the Germany got unified, and some of the political leaders thought that geography is important, as to understand geography of far off lands will help them better their expansionist ideas, and will make them stand in a better stead in this conflict of imperialism. So this is the stage where geography was again at the crossroads, and it was being challenged. Oscar Peschel openly criticized Humboldt and Ritter for unifying geography and bringing in physical and human elements together. He argued that even one continent cannot represent all the unified features which the way Humboldt was trying to display. He said that the landforms, the landscapes, the climate itself is so different in each of the continent. So he kept on arguing that this cannot be agreed to, and he laid firmly the foundations of dualism, and he is understood to be the originator of this concept of dualism, and wherein he said that physical geography is different and human geography is different, and they cannot be brought together as a single science, as a single discipline, as a universal platform of knowledge. So he wrote a book, a very interesting book on geography and races of mankind, wherein he showed these races of mankind were very different even within the single continent. And so this kind of a human geography mixing with physical geography is a very far-fetched idea, and it cannot stand the test of time. A more punching and a more attacking argument came from George Gerland, who said man cannot be studied scientifically. So if man cannot be studied scientifically, and man is a part of the environment, and the environment is part of the physical structure of the earth, and they are together, it is not possible to, since it is not possible to analyze scientifically the man cannot form part of geography. geographic field. So he clearly separated that and emphasized that geography can no longer be considered as a unified field of inquiry, and dualism has to continue, and physical geography has to be different compared to the human geography, and they have to be studied separately. During this time also came up the social Darwinism as it was getting involved, and one of the staunchest supporter of social Darwinism was Ratzel. Ratzel took geography to a very different level. He was the political advisor to Adolf Hitler, and he ensured that geography as a separate discipline stood on its own. And in fact, because of him, all that time the geopolitics was very considered as a very negative connotation. He brought this geopolitics into a very positive conundrum, and people started appreciating the relevance of geopolitics and geography at its background. And geography also stood as a separate discipline during Ratzel's time. And then, of course, came Richthofen. He advocated his theory of new geography. He himself was an explorer. He was a field worker who would actually go observe things and show. He related volcanic islands with the occurrence of gold and also various several resources in the work he did in Alps and in China. He did not advocate to the idea of Erdukunde. He said that earth science is totally different from what we learn as geography. He said geography is the phenomena which are causally related to each other, and geography studied should be studied that way only. Richthofen had a very great influence on not only the German scholars of that time, but also scholars of the other worlds. Then came Hettner, who further revived the concept of chorology and said that chorology is fundamental to understanding the fundamentals of geography. In fact, Hettner should be remembered as one of the first geographers who from his heart wanted to do a university course and his intent of learning geography to become a geographer. That is, he chose geography as a career. He is one of the first scholars to be noted to have thought that he wanted to do geography because he wanted to be a geographer. And then but during this time and after it, there was a lot of scholars who were agitating on some of the aspects of the way geography was being evolved as a separate subject. At least there were three opposing or views or dissatisfaction shown by the scholars at that time regarding the way geography was moving as a separate discipline. The first was basically related to the methodology, the way Ratzel, Richthofen, or even before that Humboldt and Richter have said that the way geography was going towards more of a methodological way of study rather than having a solid material content of studying geography. So they said that some of the scholars who were opposing and agitating said that the material geography as a solid subject should replace this methodological way of looking at geography. They also said that the interrelationship between man and environment, as has been given by some of the geographers, is short-lived, and it cannot be the same throughout the time, and it has to be revived, reviewed, and evaluated based on how the relationship has been changing over time. And then the third opposition to the way geography was moving was that regional geography laid too much of emphasis on the physical aspects of geography. So this was not to be, because as the geography was evolving, there is much more than just the physical landforms or the landscapes, but there is so much to geography which is needed to be related to the environment. So these three opposing views and were put forward by the many scholars, and it showed dissatisfaction. If you see the essence of all the three opposing views of and the simmering dissatisfaction among the scholars, it is can be summarized simply is that the chorology did not take the value of time, or did not bother or totally neglected time in the way it showed its concept in geography. So because of this neglect of time, chorology as a concept in geography did not find the support of geographers who were the followers of Hettner. And then the Hettner's views also got much better fillip after Schuttler brought out his objectives of geography of man. In this objectives of geography of man, he clearly defines what a landscape is. Landscape is a visual perception of area. In spite of there being a lot of confusion about the landscapes as a term in the German circles, because the Germans viewed landscapes in two ways. One is that aerial topographical view what we all look at, and the other was the painting or a photograph, or in the artistic point of view as a landscape. So the artist can change the landscape according to his requirement, according to his taste, and according to his artistic perception. But this view of landscape was again revived, and when Hartshorne brought out his book on nature of geography, everything got clarified. He put everything in its right perspective, and even the Hettnerian model of geography stood the test of time and became a standard text for the future geographers. So that is how these German geographers contributed immensely, particularly Richthofen, Ratzel, and Hettner, and of course the way both Oscar Peschel and George Garland totally changed the paradigm, brought in a paradigm shift of how to look at geography, not as a dualistic science, but as a discipline which has physical geography separately and human geography separately. So that is how this is a very important phase of the geographical evolution as a subject, as a discipline, as a thought process, and as a concept of how it withstood its content compared to the other disciplines, and now geography stands up as a separate discipline thanks to the contribution of all these German scholars. I'll show you a few slides and then please stay tuned. So we'll now more specifically see the contributions of Ratzel, Richthofen, Hettner, and the other German geographers. This is a very important phase in the evolution of geography as a discipline. So before we talk about the contributions of Ratzel, Hettner, and Richthofen, you should understand that geography was going through a crisis of identity, particularly in a very intellectual climate, and after the aftermath of the deaths of Humboldt and Ritter, there was a sudden decline of the importance of geography. In a way, it has brought an end to an era in geographical thought, as Humboldt and Ritter stood at the crossroads between the classical and the modern phase of geography. In that sense, they had jointly represented both the beginning and an end of an era in geography. The claim of universal scholarship towards geography also ended with them. There was no one to take it up as a unified discipline of knowledge. And simultaneously, the scientific voyages of discoveries were getting pieced together to produce overarching theories, particularly in biology, and of this, Charles Darwin's Origin of Species has contributed to a major change in the perspective in every field of science, natural, physical, or human, and including geography. So, for an example, referring to Lamarck's famous example of the giraffe, Darwin noted that the giraffe did not get his long neck by stretching for fodder. In fact, the fact was that the individual giraffes that were born with longer necks were better equipped to survive in the savanna environment than were the short-necked ones. And so this feature was slowly passed on to the later generations. So in his explanation of the mechanism of the evolution of species, Darwin demonstrated that this was far from a straight line process, and randomness and chance had played a major role in the evolution. So an aspect of the evolutionary theory of particular importance to geography was that it emphasized the need to study the phenomena on the Earth's surface in relation to environment, because by which this is the only way we could understand the struggle for survival and the environmental adjustment, to better appreciate how this could have happened. And also this gave further justification, as I said in the overview, for the geography being considered more as a science than as in any other subject. And then the concept of evolution, it attracted many branches of knowledge outside biology. It appeared in the study of landforms as the Davis cycle of erosion, and was also reflected in the concept of nature of soils developed through a slow process of change from the parent material, which was totally different from what we see in the matured soils. So applied to the study of human beings, this evolutionary theory came to be known as social Darwinism, and Frederick Ratzel was the staunchest supporter of the social Darwinism. So, but during this time, simultaneously as the sciences were evolving, a study of physical aspects of the earth was parceled into domains of a series of independent sciences. It no longer remained just physical geography, and the physical environment and man in particular segments of the earth surface, as envisaged by Humboldt and Ritter, as being a singular or a unified way of looking at geography as a discipline. It lost its respectability as a field of scientific interest. Geography therefore slowly got neglected as a scientific pursuit, so much so that the Ritter's chair in geography at Berlin remained vacant for a very long time. So after the deaths of Humboldt and Ritter, geography not only lost respectability as a branch of science, but this also led to a very unfortunate parting of physical and human geography, that is physical and human and regional geography. Since the former could be pursued through only analytical methods of natural and physical sciences, whereas later was a descriptive and holistic in perspective. There were serious attempts made by many scholars in geography to reconcile this dualism between the physical and human geography and regional and systematic geography, but they could only succeed only after the Germany got unified, and geography as a discipline got revived, because leaders of the government felt the need to promote geographical knowledge about lands and people around the globe, with a view to serving the interest of colonial expansion in the increasingly competitive world of imperialism. So this indirectly helped geography. And then came the work of Oscar Peschel and the rise of dualism. This is while it was acknowledged that the utility of geography as an aid to colonial administration and territorial expansion during this time, was an academician called Oscar Peschel, who wrote Geschi de Erkonde on the invitation to the Royal Academy of Sciences. He was a very good orator, a very good speaker, and an illustrious geographer who understood the depths of the various concepts, and so he was very openly critical of Humboldt and Ritter, and he came about saying that the large continental places which had so much of internal diversity cannot just be compared as equals, and only specific landforms or climate types which are there in each of the continents can be common. So he demonstrated it with reference to his own study on Jort coast. His study revealed the type of coastal topography, etc., and he came to the conclusion that this Jort topography is the result of abandoned valleys of former glaciers. So Peschel believed that physical and human geography constitute totally, entirely different domains, and they cannot be seen as a single science. So he was thus the originator of dualism, bringing out subtle but certain differences between physical and human geography, and was strongly of the view that geography should be pursued primarily as a study of physical phenomena of the earth. He himself made an in-depth study of the various geographical races and their distribution in his book, The Races of Mankind, the Geographical Distribution. Then came George Gerland. He was very emphatic in saying that the human part of this so-called unified geography needed scientific analysis, and the study of man should be taken outside the purview of geography, since man could not be put to such kind of a scientific analysis as we do in the physical geography or the relation between man and environment. So the continuance of geography as a unified field of academic inquiry, incorporating both human as well as physical element of the Earth's surface, was in a very serious crisis, and there were no takers for lack of dualism in geography. They all felt that it's very difficult to answer on how scientific analysis can be made of human beings, hence it can be part of the unified geography. So in the last decade, several attempts were made to resolve this debate on dualism and to project geography as an integrated science concerned with the study of phenomena of the Earth's surface. Then came Frederick Ratzel. His anthropogeography was one of the most famous contributions made by any geographer of that time. It stood the test of time, and it was also a reference book for a very long time. Then he was one of the first environmental determinists who believed that the physical environment is an active agent in the adjustment of man, and then he went on to write the behavior of states and how the state resembles a biological organism is what is called as the organic theory. And then he was the propounder of this organic theory, which states that a nation would behave and function as similar to an organism in the biological field. So he contributed to the expansionist Nazi philosophies, and for the first time after the association with Nazi powers, he turned geopolitics, which was viewed as a very negative term, into a very positive term. And then came Richthofen, associate of Ratzel. His chief contributions were in the Alpine stratigraphy, so much so that one of the mountains is named after him. He studied a lot by exploring and by traveling and doing a lot of field work. He was able to associate the volcanic with the occurrence of gold, and in his new geography approach, he carried forward the scientific spirit which was imbued in the contemporary geography by the Oscar Peschel. Then he began his researches in the Alps and also made a lot of studies in the Carpathians. He studied the granites and dolomites and related dolomites to probable coral reefs, and then he selected an expedition to Eastern Asia for the study of land resources of, in particular, China, and he wrote a book on the resources of China, which was used as a reference book for a very long time. So the work he made and wrote about China, about the structure and the physiography of the mountains of Central Asia and their influence on the outward migration of people. So Richthofen is perhaps one of the few geographers who is remembered for his clear statement on the scope and method of geography, which came to be regarded as a programmatical statement of modern German geography. So in his inaugural address at the University of Leipzig, he took over Marthe's chorological concept and made it a fundamental basis of his concept of geography. So if there is a question, a discussion related to chorological concept, you should be able to trace what each of the geographers, how they pushed it, how they made it as fundamental to geography, and how what kind of examples they have given to ensure that the chorological geography was imbibed in the basic concepts of geography. So as I said to him, geography was not Erdkunde. Geography is the science of the earth's surface and the things and phenomena that are causally interrelated with it. Then Alfred Hettner, he was the true geographer because he entered the university to pursue his studies to become actually a geographer. And he did not want him to get into geopolitics or anything. He was very clear, he wanted to be a geographer and wanted to contribute for the good of geography. He revived the concept of geography again as chorology. It found it very effective, advocate of this, and then this was supported by Hartshorne's Nature of Geography, wherein he very clearly says that the Hettnerian concept of chorology is here to stay. It is the fundamental concepts of the basics of geography. So Hettner, as I said, was the first geographer of his generation who entered university with a conscious intention of becoming a geographer. So after studying at Halle, Bonn, Strasbourg, he joined Richthofen in Leipzig and subsequently submitted his research on the habitation under the guidance of Ratzel. Of course, Hettner contributed in many ways. He wrote several books, including the regional geography of Europe, and he also gave in the physical classification of knowledge, similar to what Immanuel Kant had, that is logical and physical, and his idea was also very similar to it. And then this idea again was put forward by Hettner in first of his methodological essays published in the inaugural issue of his journal Geography Geschichte. Then geography, according to Hettner, begins with spatial association of phenomena that give character to areas at different scales of resolution. It's very similar to the concept of the areal differentiation. So according to him, we should remember this quote. He gave a very important but a very significant quote on related to chorology. He said, geography as a chorological study is neither natural nor human, but both put together. So far it is concerned with the distinctive character of land. So again he is going back to what Humboldt and Ridderstadt said, and that dualism is an integral part of geography, and both the natural or the unhuman geography exist together. Then came Otto Schluter. He was again a little uneasy in identifying geography as a chorological science, just like a chronological science, because he did not believe in the method being more important than the subject matter. So along with him there were others who felt that this chronological way of looking at geography is not enough. So they were disgruntled, and there were some dissatisfaction as far as geography being dealt in that way. So those who were opposed to it, they strongly felt that geography should be dealt like any other systematic sciences and must have a distinctive subject of study, a specific content which it could be clearly identified as a field of science. And another source of dissatisfaction was also the itinerarian scheme is for the regional geography, wherein there was an overemphasis of the importance of physical geography at the cost of the human geography or the regions and places related to it. Then there was also a third source of dissatisfaction among scholars of that time, showing that many of the interrelations observed in the regional studies were overly generalized and there was no time element given in it. But actually these regional studies change with the process of change in the process of over regions and time. So this could not properly be understood without the study of past geography related to the way regional geography evolves in time and the changes taking place over a period. So in other words, geography as chronology neglected time, and this is what schools and the other contemporary geographers wanted to bring back the concept of time also in chronology. So these points of dissatisfaction with the concept of geography put forward by Ratzel on the one hand and Richthofen and Hettner on the other led to continued search of alternative concepts of geography as science. So Schluter, who studied under Richthofen, under whose influence he developed a strong interest in the questions of scope and method of geography, an interest that led him to his famous book of Objectives of the Geography of Man, which projected the alternative concept of geography as the study of landscapes. As I said, the landscape was very clear to Schluter. He said that it is a visual perception of the area which is termed as landscape. Though in the German circles the word landscape meant differently. One said it is just the aerial or the topographic part of what we see physically. The other is an artistic or a photograph or a painting which is seen as a landscape. So while dealing with the landscape, Schluter incorporated the concept of processes, that is development through time, and in his concept of geography as a science of landscape, it meant a very derivative concept of both cultural and natural landscape. He called them one cultural scape and the other one is the natural landscape. Stay tuned, stay safe and study well, keep focused and all the best and bye.